I do not really want to be here right now. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have actually been debating whether to do this for a long time, and I've always talked myself out of it, but finally I was like, I'm gonna have to film it. Like, you can't keep thinking about doing it, you just have to bite the bullet and do it. And so that is what I'm doing today, and it's just gonna be like a really raw and real chat. I have zero makeup on, I've literally just plopped on my floor and I'm just gonna talk because I kind of feel like I should do this video. My channel is kind of about, I guess, helping people, and I think that this video could really help quite a few people, hopefully. As you can probably tell from the title, I'm going to be talking about my chronic illness today. I still can't believe I'm actually filming this video. I just feel so weird putting this out there on the internet for everyone to see, but at the end of the day, it's like not really a secret or anything to be ashamed of, I guess. But yeah, I have rheumatoid arthritis, and I've mentioned this in a few videos, but I've never really properly talked about it. So I actually have juvenile idiopathic arthritis, if we're being like nitty gritty, which is just, you know, in young people, and idiopathic means like they don't know what the cause is. And I just want to talk about my story in this video and just share my journey with JIA or RA. I'm probably going to call it that because it's just easier in this video. Just in case there's anyone out there who's watching this who is going through the same thing, just so that you know, like, you are not alone. There's other people out there going through the same thing as you, and it's okay, and it's probably going to be okay. And also, I just wanted to kind of spread awareness. I know that I think rheumatoid arthritis, the awareness month was June, or like awareness week was in June, but I'm late to everything, so like, yeah, it's now September. But anyway, I just feel like there are certain misconceptions that people have about this, and I just want to like help to clear the air, debunk the myths, and just share what it's really like to live with RA. First thing I wanted to point out is that rheumatoid arthritis, I can't even say that word, rheumatoid arthritis is not the same thing as osteoarthritis, which is something that a lot of people can get confused about, and it's understandable, but it needs to be like said. So rheumatoid arthritis, anyone can get it, literally anybody. It's not just old people that get arthritis. Osteoarthritis is basically in older people because it's wear and tear. So you're using all your joints throughout your life, and when you get older, you know, the cartilage is worn away and you start like getting bone on bone contact and it hurts, and it's arthritis basically. Whereas rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disorder, so you're kind of, I guess, born with it, although they don't really know what the cause is anyway. And yeah, it's your own immune system attacking your cells. And honestly, I'm not going to really go into the science of it because I don't know enough about it, which is really bad, especially since I'm literally doing a medicine degree. But I will admit that I don't know enough about rheumatoid arthritis to actually properly talk about it and explain it, and I don't think it's my place to do that when I actually don't know all the facts. And so I will link some stuff in the description box if you want to further read up on it, but yeah, I'm just going to talk about like a patient's side of the whole experience. But basically, your joints get inflamed because cells are getting, or stuff is getting attacked, I don't know, by your immune system, and yeah, you get swelling, your cartilage wears away, and you have arthritis basically, and it's bloody painful. The story begins when I was 4 years old, and obviously at this point I can't really remember much about when I was 4, so there are gaps, but I know that I first started showing symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis when I was 4, but I was first diagnosed when I was 6 years old. I have this one vivid memory. I'm not sure why I remember it so clearly, but I remember I was in my garden and we used to have like this ledge. You might have seen it in some of my really old videos, which is really embarrassing, but like we had this ledge that went down onto the pavement from the grass, and I just remember jumping off it one day and my knee absolutely killing. And then it swelled up and I was put on like the go-to drug, I think, for arthritis, which is methotrexate. It is actually, I know this from my research for medicine interviews, but it's actually given in like a lower dosage, but it was designed to treat cancer, which is quite scary if you think about it, but it's basically like a lower dosage of a cancer drug. I don't think they really use it for cancer anymore, but I think it's used to treat quite a few autoimmune diseases. But yeah, I think that's the go-to. I was just shoved on it because that's like the standard procedure. And I remember getting joint injections. I remember being in hospital, and at that point I had polyarthritis, I want to say. I basically just had it in a lot of my joints. I think my ankles, my knees, my hips, I know for certain, possibly my neck or like my shoulders. I can't quite remember, but I know that I had it in a lot of my joints. I honestly can't remember that much from that time, but obviously having like balloon joints is not exactly fun. I've seen pictures of myself from when I was younger, and like my knees were massive. Like they were so swollen, and I can imagine that it was really quite painful. And I think slowly, like, I started getting better. My joints stopped hurting, they weren't like swollen anymore and whatever. And I think we went into like a sweet period of like nothing was really inflamed, it was all under control. It was great. I'm not sure whether I came off of the medication or not, but I know that like for some time I had no problems with my arthritis. So even though arthritis is like a chronic condition and I'm gonna have it for like the rest of my life, you do go through periods of like really bad flare-ups, and when it's like dormant and you couldn't even tell that you had it until I think it was 2010 where the real story starts. So I remember this clear as day, as though it were yesterday really. We went on a walk because back then my parents were really big on like going on walks. We would go to like naturey places and just like go on hikes and stuff. So we went, it was October, it was before Halloween. We went to this waterfall place, and obviously it's October, it's Britain, it's gonna be raining. And it was just kind of grim, but like we went anyway. There were loads of waterfalls. I dragged my friend along at the time, like she was my literal closest friend. Poor soul had to come everywhere with me. We were towards the end of the walk, and there were these steps that I think I was either walking up or down, can't quite remember. I feel like it was up, and I stood wrong on my right foot. You know how like you walk and you kind of stand on it wrong and like your ankle kind of like twists, but it's not actually like twisted, it just kind of hurts for a bit and then it stops after like 2 minutes or something. So I did that and I was like, ouch. But I thought nothing of it because obviously my ankle wasn't like broken, it wasn't fractured or anything, it was fine. I found it a bit strange that after like 20 minutes when we got back to the car, it was still really hurting. And over the next 2 weeks, it was still in pain. Like my ankle was really hurting, I think it got swollen, and at that point it was like, great, it's come back. The arthritis has come back to bite again. So this time I literally only had it in that one ankle, and I'm not sure what exactly triggered it to just like come back in that ankle, because obviously like nothing much had happened, I had just stood on it wrong. Honestly, to be in pain like constantly as a child was not the highlight of my childhood, honestly. I have definitely had a different childhood to a lot of other people because of it. I would go to physio, I would go see doctors regularly, I would get joint injections to try and like help control it, which they did kind of, like they definitely helped, but they would only last a month, like max, and then you had to get another one. And let me tell you, they are absolutely shockingly painful. Like, especially, I don't know about any other place, because I think when I was younger I would get them like completely under general anesthetic, but in my ankle, a big fat ow. It's like a massive needle that's going into this tiny, tiny space that is your ankle, and like it really bloody hurts. And all I had was like gas and air. And this is another thing, like I'm so scared for like the future of this condition, because obviously it's not going to go anywhere, and I know that inevitably something is going to happen again, and like especially as I get older, things are only going to probably go downhill rather than get much better. And so even for stuff like joint injections, I'm very scared because I know that I'm not going to get any anesthesia this time, like nothing. Gas and air was great. It didn't really do, obviously it did stuff for the pain, but like it was still really, really painful. So I can't imagine what it's like to get it without that. But yeah, so I'd get regular joint injections, which also actually hinder your growth. So everyone in my family is very tall. Like my immediate family, my sister is so much taller than me. If you've seen pictures, I'd say now I'm like an average-ish height. But at the time, I just completely stopped growing and I was tiny. It just got worse and worse. Like it wasn't getting any better. The methotrexate I don't think was working anymore. We tried biological treatments, which is another very scary prospect, because these drugs, like monoclonal antibody drugs, which were being developed, had not really been tested long term. They were obviously tested, like they were safe to use, I think. Hope. But they were not, like they weren't around enough to have been tested like long term to see like long term effects of them. So like I was kind of a guinea pig in that, but we decided that we were going to get them because it was really quite bad. So firstly I was put on like etanercept, and that did absolutely nothing. Also, might I add, all of these are injections that have to be taken weekly. So honestly, a real highlight, not. But yeah, first one did absolutely nothing. I think I took it for like a year. Then we decided to switch to adalimumab, or Humira, I think, is like the common name for it. And that I think I did for another year, did absolutely nothing. And finally we were like, let's switch to another one. And this one was like, thankfully not a weekly one. You would go into hospital and get a dose of it every few months. I think it might have been like 4 to 6 months, I'm not sure. But it was like an IV drop kind of thing. And this one actually worked, guys, I think. Basically, like a few weeks after I got my first dose, I realised like, oh, my ankle isn't in as much pain anymore. And I think at that point it was like, oh, maybe it's actually working. Again, like, I don't know, maybe it's placebo effect or something, but like I was in less pain, so I didn't really care. All the while that this is going on, obviously it really like messes with your mind, I think, especially if you're young and have it, because it really does limit you. And I know that there are obviously so many other conditions that limit you even more, but for example, I would watch, this sounds so stupid, but it was like real feelings for me. I would watch like dance videos or like gymnastics and think like, I literally can never do that. Like I could never do that with my life. That door is completely closed. Like whatever I do, I could never do that because I literally physically cannot. Like my ankle won't bend. The movement that you have in your joints gets very limited by arthritis because obviously number one, it's painful, and number two, my joint, we'll get onto this, but it was really not in a good state. But yeah, it really like got to me for some reason that whatever I do in life, like I could not do certain things ever. And like in PE, there were things that I literally couldn't do. I was really like obviously bad at it because running was, let's just say, not one of my strong suits. I just couldn't do it really. And it also, I think, is the stem of many of my like self-confidence issues. I was very, very conscious of the way I walked, and I still have like a limp. If you've seen me walk, I walk with a slight limp. No, I don't think it's even slight. Like it's, to me, it's very noticeable. I'm not sure, people say that they don't notice. I guess like they don't really pay attention, but in my head I was like, everyone is staring at me, like I'm walking so weirdly. and just like my body, because of my arthritis, I hated it. I felt so self-conscious. My leg, obviously the muscle wasted away because I wasn't using my right leg as much, and even like now my right calf is like half the size of my left one. Yeah, I was just in a very unhappy place because of it, and I just felt very different and very like isolated. I think at that point possibly my arthritis was like in remission, so like it wasn't actively inflammation that was in my ankle, but my ankle was completely destroyed, and it still is to this day. It was, if you saw an x-ray of my ankle, it doesn't even look like an ankle. The bones are like not in the right place. It really, out on the outside, it looks not normal at all. It's kind of like got like bumps on the side from, I think the bones like have moved or something. And like it was permanent mechanical damage because of my arthritis, and that is another thing that I'm gonna have probably for the rest of my life, until possibly eventually I'm gonna have to get like a joint replacement or something, but obviously you don't want to do that when you're really young. So the other option when I started seeing an orthopedic surgeon was to get an operation to try and get more space in my joint, because obviously, yes, you can take drugs to manage pain, but it's not going to sort out the key issue, which is the fact that like your bones are rubbing and they are wearing away, because my bones were wearing themselves away at a rate. It's called an Ilizarov frame, I think, and it's this big metal cage that goes around your leg. So basically they literally drill pins through your bones, like all the way through your leg, like metal pins, and they attach it to this metal frame outside of your body. And basically the purpose of it was to pull apart, like they set it to a distance where it would pull apart my bones of like my ankle joint slowly, so that new cartilage could form, and like when they took it off, like my joint would actually have some space, because at that point like there was no space and my bones were rubbing. So I got that done, and it was unpleasant, let me just tell you. Like having a big metal thing attached to your leg, number one, initially it really hurts. Number two, it did not do wonders for my self-confidence either, because we got it done when I think I just turned 13, and we did it at the start of summer, so I'd have some time at home, but obviously then inevitably you keep it on for 3 months, so I had to go back to school with this metal cage on my leg, and that was just not an experience I care to really remember. I just felt so alienated. I would also visit the hospital a lot, because you had to like go and get the pin sites, like it's literally an open wound. You had to get them cleaned every week so that like they wouldn't get infected, because it's literally open, out in the open. Like they had like little cotton pads around them, but that was it. And they actually kind of inevitably did end up getting infected. Like I went to sleep and I woke up and I literally couldn't breathe. I thought that I was going to die. I'm not sure what exactly I was infected with, but I take it affects your something, because I could not get enough oxygen in me. So at that point, you know, we were all panicking. The next morning we went to A&E. My leg was actually in agony, like one of the worst pains I've ever felt in my life. We went, turns out, yep, infection. I got antibiotics, then a week later went to see the orthopedics. It really started hurting again, so they just admitted me for another week in the hospital, which was such fun. But yeah, that was kind of traumatizing. But after I got it taken off, you then have to walk around in like a boot for 3 months. Like if you break your leg, you get the same kind of thing. So at least that was less like noticeable than a big massive metal thing in your leg. And after that operation, thankfully, touch wood, my ankle hasn't hurt really since. My ankle just like didn't hurt. I got the boot taken off and the x-ray showed like there was space in my joint, so you're all like, yay, it worked. Obviously had loads of physio and stuff going on. As time progressed, you know, the bones started coming together again. Like it didn't last very long, but thankfully my bones just like fused. So now I don't think I even have an ankle joint anymore. I just have 2 fused bones. The like motility of it is not great, but at least like I have a little bit of movement in my joint, but for the most part the bones are like completely fused, which is actually a very good thing, because the doctor said that the 2 options, because we would obviously see him and like we would see on the x-rays like the space was closing up. He said that the 2 options were either I would get like a metal rod permanently inserted that would hold my joints, not my joints, my bones permanently together. So basically what had happened naturally, like that would have to have been done if my bones hadn't like fused themselves, or like a total joint replacement, which is obviously not desirable at the age of 14 or 13. So yeah, that was that. And obviously at that point I didn't really have active arthritis, so when my ankle was feeling better, we weaned myself off medication and it was great. I had 2 years of kind of bliss. Like obviously my ankle still will never really be back to how it was before all this happened, but it's really nice to not be in pain. And I had 2 years, had no medication, life was great. I forgot to mention that I actually switched from tablets to injections for my methotrexate, because the tablets I used to take with water, and I literally couldn't drink water for like years and years, because every time I drank it I would just taste the tablets. They're not coated or anything, which is so stupid, but I would just taste them and I would feel sick. Like they made me feel so sick. So I moved to injections, which, you know, more weekly injections, such fun. But yeah, I was free until inevitably it came back. Like there would be flare-ups now and again. Sometimes my knees would like hurt for like a week and then it would be fine, like they would swell up and then it would go down by itself. But it fully came back for good in year 12 when my jaw started hurting. And then I was put back on methotrexate, obviously. My jaw was really quite bad. Like it was very, very, very stiff. I couldn't open it. Like I literally couldn't get like 2 finger widths in between my teeth because my jaw just wouldn't move. Like I was stuck permanently like this. Like this is as much as my mouth would open and it wouldn't go any further. Like you literally couldn't make it go any further. So talking was not fun. Eating, I could barely eat anything because moving my jaw hurt and I couldn't open it. Thankfully they don't do jaw joint injections, so I was just put on methotrexate and we hoped that it would go away, which it did, thankfully, because if it was a repeat of my ankle, I honestly don't know what I would have done. But it still isn't great. Like it still sometimes hurts, and it's not, the range of movement is no longer like anywhere near what it was, but at least it's not like I can actually open my mouth, you know? It's great. And I think around that time I also got uveitis, which is another thing that you can get attached to arthritis. It's basically inflammation of your eye, part of your eye, I'm not sure. I think it's your uvea, because uveitis. Or maybe, I don't know actually. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, so my vision in my left eye started going, hold on, oh my god, ow. Okay. Even though I don't have exactly arthritis in like I hope, I don't think I do in my knees or anything, it's still like there's lasting effects. Like my knees are like they face inwards. My vision in my left eye went really like foggy, like it was really misty. So I started taking like steroid eye drops, and yeah, I mean, to be fair, I wasn't the best about taking them, so it took a long time for like my eye to sort itself, well, for me to sort my eye out. Finally, the inflammation supposedly went away, which was great. And then I asked the ophthalmologist whether I can try contact lenses, and he was like, yeah, it's fine. It might cause some inflammation to come back, apparently, although other doctors have said like that's not possible. But he said that I can try them, so I did, and it's back. So now I'm still on methotrexate. I was never taken off it since my jaw got bad, and like when I went to uni I was still on like the highest dose possible because we were trying to fix my eye. That pretty much brings us to today. Thankfully at the moment none of my joints are like active, arthritis-y, but yeah, again my eye is still an issue, and honestly like you never know, like something could start hurting tomorrow and it could like escalate into a whole big thing like my ankle. So if you also have rheumatoid arthritis, any form of it, and you don't mind like sharing your story or any thoughts that you have, do leave it in the comments. I would love to read it. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, give it a thumbs up, and please do share it just to spread awareness. Subscribe to my channel. I generally talk about like academia and stuff. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!